Very good morning, evening, or good noon, or good afternoon, whatever time you are actually joining to study this lecture. I'm Dr. Krishna Raj Bhandari, and I'm offering this course as strategic management, and we're into Unit 1, Part 2. In Unit 1, whatever we have done, and in Part 2, whatever we will cover, we'll discuss quickly here on the agenda. Hopefully it is clear. Sorry, clear enough for you to go through the slides now together with me. Right? Let me right. So I will just start the slides here for a while, start the video, and then I'll come back this second, 2 minutes. And start with a brighter light so that we'll have better video and sound experience that you can enjoy. All right, so I'm back here with my all possibilities with you. Now let's go to our discussion of the day on chapter 2, unit. Actually, this is unit inside the unit 2. Actually, we are already into unit 2. We have finished the unit 1 virtually on a mission statement and vision statement idea. Quickly, we touched upon that. We discussed about definitions and formality and layers of strategy from top level, corporate level to business level to functional level. And now we are getting into understanding what is strategic objectives versus financial objectives and what is long-term and short-term objectives. The focus is just to study the long-term objective in a detailed manner, but other things are implicit in understanding, like if it is long-term understood, what is short-term, you are implied to understand from that perspective. All right, let's get going. Long-term objectives and strategies. Actually, we will be discussing 7 different topics for long-term corporate objectives that describe the 5 qualities of long-term corporate objectives that make them useful to strategic managers. And then we discuss, we explain the generic strategies of low-cost leadership versus differentiation and focus. These will be dealt in a very detailed manner later, but we will just define and skip all the slides now, but we'll just look into some level how Porter has actually defined these. And then we'll discuss the importance of the value disciplines. And then we're going to list, describe, evaluate, and give examples of brand strategies that decision makers use in forming their company's competitive plan. Now, this is also like on a surface level. Yes, definitions are there, you can read in your notes, but here at this time, we will be just touching the idea. But the notes are very detailed for your purpose. And then we understand the creation of sets of long-term objectives and brand strategic options. This is the objective. So what is a long-term objective? The strategic managers recognize that short-run profit maximization is really the best approach to achieving sustained corporate growth and profitability. This is inherent in the idea that I shared with you. Please remember, please recall the Jim Collins Why Mighty Fail slide in the first introductory lecture, first outline of the course. There we were talking about if there is exploitation focus, that means profit focus only. And you are not exploring, that means you are not thinking long term. You are doomed to fail. Because if you get into exploitation loop, this is actually self-reinforcing. Please remember March 1991. If you want to read that article from this scholar, you can do that. March 1991 actually gave a very, very detailed view of this idea. He said that if you get into exploitation focus, that means efficiency driven, optimization focus, and then you get into like only profit making, cost cutting, and all everything what you can. Okay, reap the benefits of the IPR, intellectual property rights, all patents, trademarks, secrets that you have created, maximize that benefit. That's the basic idea. If you get into that loop, you keep on actually getting into success trap because this is a self-reinforcing cycle. Success breeds success. Managers get rewards, CEOs get stock markets going up, and the company believes this is going to be like this all the time. But what happens in a reality is that what happened with Nokia. So we were looking for like enough GSM technology and the benefits it has given to us over a decade. But suddenly we didn't realize that this will not last. Yes, we realized, but we could not decide or transform the company into a new direction at the right time. Because we had a baggage. The baggage of GSM that we were carrying is a huge baggage. We could not load it off. It was very, very challenging to get that off and having new technology, new understanding, and new competence level. Right? But afterwards, when Risto Silasma and others came into Nokia, Risto Silasma is very entrepreneurial because he established his F-Secure company, a security, internet security company, and he is entrepreneurial by his own DNA, maybe, like it's very, very entrepreneurial. So he actually turned around the company into something that is actually very, very powerful now in 5G technology. So 3G and 4G wave was a little bit late for them in mobile phones, but in technology, the infrastructure technology, they were still there, but not on mobile phones. That was sold to Microsoft. But then they got into very good turnaround into your business, into 5G technology. So we'll see what will be the future after this. So this is very important to understand. That to achieve long-term prosperity, strategic planners commonly establish long-term objectives in 7 areas. These are the areas you can read here, like I've summarized here. All of these are very, very important to actually follow. So it should be flexible, measurable, motivating, suitable, and understandable. Vague definitions and vague ideas are not good to actually be the objectives. And then one idea emerged on this perspective is balanced scorecard. Can you actually have a total view? Yes, you need to report to the stock market for the profitability, but for internal metrics, what you can do. And these are 4 dimensions: financial performance, customer knowledge, internal business processes, and then learning and growth. So you can use these dimensions for internal metrics. And these are the ideas that you can actually have serving the vision and strategy as a focus core inside the organization. So you will have a customer perspective, you will have internal business perspective, you will have learning and growth perspective, and you will have financial perspective. However, if you really want to think about, this is the one shareholders value maximization perspective. But if you want to get into stakeholders value maximization, then you have to think people, planet, and other plural sector. That is a new thing that Minchberg is actually working now. So you have to think in that dimension. But now for the shareholders value maximization, because the whole textbook and whole Western multinational corporations are geared towards this, and then the syllabus is actually designed on that direction. So we'll be focusing on this part, but you have to understand there is a paradigm, another paradigm also. To answer these long-term objectives, you can think of at the business level, generic strategies, okay? And there are three generic strategies at the business level. They are low-cost leadership, differentiation, or focus. So this is a very clear idea, and we'll go in detailed, and we'll open this box later. But now at this moment, we will be actually just sticking to this. All right. Concept-wise, low-cost leadership, differentiation, meaning having unique products, and then focusing means either in cost leadership or differentiation, but into a niche market or a special segment. So let's not get into these definitions now. You can read this now. I'm not going to explain this in detail. We will come to this chapter in very detail later. Or we can come to these slides and then explain those one by one into the strategy analysis part. And differentiation is another similar idea that we can think about that later. And then you have focus, also the same way. Okay. Then there are value disciplines in organizations. What are they? You focus into operational excellence for your competitive advantage, and you build your customer intimacy, you build your relationship with the customer, and then you build product leadership. These are the three legs of the tripod. What are they? Let's pause for a while. In strategy, also we had three strategies: cost leadership, differentiation, and focus. Right? Porter gave that. And then in value disciplines, if you really want to master these extra strategies, you have to come to operational excellence level, customer intimacy level, and then product leadership level. Okay. To achieve those, on the business level, you have those, but on the grand or corporate level, you have these strategies. So what are they? Master long-term plan that provides basic direction for major actions to achieve long-term business objectives. Okay. And they are, like for example, concentrated growth. I'm just highlighting the idea and skipping all the details now, as I said earlier in the opening. But we'll get to that, like walkthrough of different, like 12 or 14 or 16 strategies like this to choose from. And we'll use matrices later in analysis like Boston Consulting and General Electric and other models. This is the strategy of the firm that directs its resources to the profitable growth of a dominant product in a dominant market with a dominant technology, concentrated, focused. And it leads to, if you really have this exploitation focus, as I gave you already on exploration exploitation framework, is good for the performance, for sure, for short term. But in the long run, you have to think to optimize that through exploration activities, not only exploitation. Okay, and these are the options you have. You can think about this later into that chapter when we get into the analysis, but not now. But understand, these are the options. What are the options we have available here? Then another strategy is market development, concentration to market development. Commonly ranks second to the concentration as the least costly and least risky of the 15 grand strategies. 15 there are, yes. So it consists of marketing present products, often with only cosmetic modification. So the idea is standardization rather than customization or adaptation. Okay. This gives something like enough flavor into the idea of strategic choices that you have. Right? And then you have, these are the options that you have in the market, selling present products in new markets. Then you have the product development. You can develop products also, new products and so on and so forth. Or you innovative product, or satisfying the needs of the multiple segments. Start with one segment and then expand to other ones. Okay. Then these are the conditions for that. You can go through these into your notes in a detailed manner. And then you can be innovative. That is also your choice. These companies seek to reap the initial high profit associated with the customer acceptance of a new or greatly improved product, because there is a time window that you can capture the profitability when there is no competition created by your IPR or first mover advantage or your innovation. So that is like a head-on 1 or 2 or even 3 years advantage. Then rather than face stiffening competition as the basis of profitability, shift from innovation to production or marketing competence, it starts for the other original or novel ideas. This is exactly like if you look into exploration and exploitation. And earlier we were on exploitation focus, but now you are here on exploration focus, but on an innovative path, development, experimentation, and innovation. The underlying rationale of the grand strategy of innovation is to create a new product life cycle and make similar existing products absolute. And for example, GSM phones are absolute, and 3G phones came into the market, 4G phones came into the market. So they made the 3G phones absolute. If you don't do this yourselves, like Nokia was late in that process, somebody did in the market. You were left behind. Please remember some Peter, who said, creative destruction is the magic of capitalism. You have to come up with new innovation. You have to come up with the progress. You cannot build monopolies. You need to give free competition a chance. Okay. Horizontal acquisition can be made. When a firm's long-term strategy is based on growth through the acquisition of one or more similar firms operating at the same stage of the production marketing chain. Same stage of the production marketing chain. It's called grand strategy. It's called horizontal acquisition. You are on a horizontal layer on the same stage of the production to marketing chain and the value chain. Porter had it. Then such acquisitions eliminate competitors and provide the acquiring firm with access to new markets. Then vertical. So you're on a horizontal value chain. Now you go into the value chain in the vertical side. When a firm's grand strategy is to acquire firms that supply it with inputs, such as raw materials or are customers for its outputs. Either way, supply side or customer side. That is vertical on this chain. The main reason for backward vertical acquisition is that backward means to supplier is to increase the dependability of the supply or quality of the raw materials used as production inputs. Not necessarily everybody would like to do that, but if you really are cost conscious and then also you are quality conscious, perhaps you want to control that chain also, component chain. Now, for example, vertical and horizontal ideas. So in this one, vertical arrows, acquisitions or mergers of suppliers or customer businesses are vertical integrations. Okay. For a short manufacturer, if they go to a textile producer, they are the suppliers. If they go to clothing store, they are the customers for them. Either way, if they expand the business in this side, this is called vertical acquisition. On the other hand, right, this side, these arrows, acquisitions or mergers of competing businesses are horizontal integrations. If these are connected, if these are connected, if these are connected, then you are merging competing businesses. Then it is called horizontal integration. This is horizontal, this is vertical, right? Then you have, what do we have? Then you have concentric diversification. Involves the acquisition of businesses that are related to the acquiring firm in terms of technology, markets, or products. Related. You are capitalizing on what you already know. You are actually building on that. With this grand strategy, the selected new businesses poses a high degree of compatibility with the firm's current businesses. See, compatibility, synergy effect, merger acquisition can happen in that. The ideal concentric diversification occurs when the combined company profits increase the strengths and opportunities and decrease the weaknesses and exposure to risk. So you maximize the SEST and minimize the WT in SWOT analysis. Then conglomerate diversification is occasionally from particularly a very large one plans to acquire a business because it represents the most promising investment opportunity available. And these grand strategies commonly known as conglomerate diversification. The principal concern of the acquiring firm is the profit pattern of the batch, nothing else. It can be from related business, it can be from unrelated business. Unlike concentric diversification, conglomerate diversification gives little concern to creating product market synergy with existing business. It can be related or not unrelated. If the venture is profitable, we just get into that. Then turn around, like for example, Nokia did this. I gave you that already when Ristosilas mandate changed the company. But finds itself with declining profits, like when mobile phone was not doing good, they were losing share price from $14 to $3, and in that $3 price, they actually sold the mobile phones. Among the reasons are economic recessions, production inefficiencies, and innovative breakthroughs by competitors. In Nokia's case, it was actually the last one, innovative breakthroughs by competitors. They were ahead of actually the innovation, but they were not able to capitalize on that. Strategic managers often believe the firm can survive and will eventually recover if a concentrated effort is made over a period of a few years to fortify its distinctive components. This is turnaround. There can be cost reduction, or there can be asset reduction. Okay. That's what we discussed. Turnaround responses among successful firms typically include two stages of strategy activities: retrenchment and the recovery response. Right? You can retrench or you can recover. The primary causes of the turnaround situation have been associated with the second phase of the turnaround process, the recovery response. Then divestiture. Okay. The Nokia, before they decided to turn around the company and use that resources for new ideas and new businesses, they divested the mobile phone business. They sold off. Right? Sale of a firm or a major component of a firm is called divestiture. And when retrenchment fails to complete the desired turnaround, or when a non-integrated business activity achieves an unusually high market value, strategic managers often decide to sell the firm. Reasons for that are varied. Then ultimately, if you are bankrupt, you liquidate. It's the grand strategy. The firm typically is solid in parts, only occasionally as a whole, but for its tangible asset value and not as going concern. Planned liquidation can be worthwhile. Before even in bankruptcy, you go for that. Right? And bankruptcy, liquidation bankruptcy, agreeing to complete distribution of firm assets to creditors, most of whom receive a small fraction of the amount they have owed. And then you have reorganization bankruptcy. The managers believe the firm can remain viable through reorganization. Both are bankruptcies. Okay. And if you want to read more in Pierce and Robbins, you have chapter 7 and chapter 11. Then you can go for joint ventures, building partnerships with one another. Okay. Joint venture extends the supplier-consumer relationship and has strategic advantages for both parties. Then you can go for strategic alliances. They are not equity ventures, but they are like alliances to pursue a product or a service together. In some instances, strategic alliances are synonymous with licensing agreements also. Right? Outsourcing arrangements may be valid. Then you have consortia, Keiretsu, and Chaebols. Construct are defined as large interlocking relationships between businesses of any industry. Japan, China even, and then also even South Korea, they are very famous on this. Karitsu is the idea like the second one that came from Japan. Chables came from South Korea. Their cooperative nature is growing in evidence as is their market success. They are very successful. Now, how do you select the strategies? When strategic planners study their opportunities, they try to determine which are most likely to result in achieving various long-term objectives. You saw the point. So you have a shopping list. Now you have to understand how do you apply those into your decision making or your understanding of the strategic management. Almost simultaneously, they try to forecast whether an available brand strategy can take advantage of preferred opportunities so the tentative objectives can be met. See, the point here is you have a shopping list and then you actually see the alignment with the opportunity and the object. In essence, then the three distinct but highly interdependent choices are being made at one time, not more than that. Sequence. The selection of long-run objectives and grand strategies involves simultaneous rather than sequential decisions. While it is true that objectives are needed to prevent the firm's direction and progress from being determined by random forces, it is equally true that objectives can be achieved only if strategies are in. So they go simultaneously. So what we have done to discuss about balanced scorecards as objective measure. Talked about bankruptcy, business model, charitable, concentrated growth, concentric diversification, conglomerate diversification, consortia, divestiture strategy, generic strategy, all these we discussed. Perhaps this makes sense. All of these, right? So we have used up most of the time here. I stop the slides here now, and then I get to talk to you in a summary. So if we really recall, all of these options that whether Nokia had played very well or not, or Apple had done that or not, or in general, Microsoft has done that or not. Now you have to think that in your free time or over coffee with a discussion with other friends, or in general, you can have course discussion into course forum also. I visit my course forums once a day and check if there are discussions going on, and I try to engage with the students there. So hopefully you can actually benefit from this and then utilize your time, and you can go back and forth into these slides. Some of the times I have illustrated them with Nokia examples. That might be helpful. So don't give up. Try to understand. So this is a very definitional chapter. But by understanding these ideas into different levels, we will be able to map out and choose from. So perhaps that was helpful. Okay, thank you very much. We will be joining into next chapter on external environment analysis.